What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Swordsoul deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is an extremely fun deck that can summon out all sorts of awesome synchro monsters to help you go in for game. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Moyi. Moyi is definitely a 3 of in the build and the best normal summon in the entire deck. Instead this card is normal or special summon, you can actually reveal a Swordsoul card or a worm monster in your hand and then special summon a Swordsoul token that is a worm tuner, water, level 4, 0 attack, and 0 defense. But while you control that token on your side of the field, you actually cannot summon from the X deck except for synchro monsters. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, you can actually draw a card, which is a great effect to help you dig into the deck. We then play 3 copies of Longyun. Longyun is really good as a 3 of in the build because you can actually discard one of their Swordsoul card or a worm monster to special summon this card from the hand. Then you get to special summon out a Swordsoul token to your side of the field, which helps you go in for your synchro plays because all of the Swordsoul tokens are level 4 tuners. This card also has the ability, if this card is used as a synchro material and sent to the graveyard, you can actually inflict 1200 points of damage to your opponent, which is a great effect to help you do some burn damage. We then play 2 copies of Taiye. Taiye is great as a 2 of in the build because this card is an awesome ability that you can banish a Swordsoul card or a worm monster in the graveyard to special summon a Swordsoul token to your side of the field. Also, this card has the ability, if this card is sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, you can actually send a Swordsoul card or a worm monster from your deck to the graveyard. We then play 3 copies of Incredible Ecclesia. Incredible Ecclesia is definitely a 3 of in the build and an awesome card to be able to play in the deck because this card has a great effect that if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand. And you can also tribute this card during the main phase as a quick effect to be able to special summon a Swordsoul monster from your deck, which is a great ability to help you bring out your copy of Moyi to your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of the Tenyi Spirit. This card is really good as a 3 of in the build and I absolutely love this card. This card helps you so much if your opponent stops your Moyi play because this card has the ability, if you control a worm monster or a face-up non-effect monster, you can actually special summon this card from the hand. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as a material for a worm synchro monster, you can actually special summon a Tenyi Link monster from your X deck, but it cannot be used as a link material, then you lose life points equal to its link rating times 1000, which you have some really cool cards you can actually summon from the X deck using this card's ability, but this card is so good in the deck, it's a 3 of to be able to use your copy of Moyi, as if your opponent stops you from summoning a token through using cards like Effect Failure or Imperm, you can still special summon this card to your side of the field, and then keep going. We then play 3 copies of Ashina. Ashina is definitely a 3 of in the build and a really powerful Tenyi Spirit in the deck, as if you control no effect monsters, you can actually special summon this card from the hand. And if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can actually banish this card from the hand or the graveyard to special summon a Tenyi monster from your deck, which is a great ability to instantly bring out the exact card that you need. The only downside of this card is after you activate that effect, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest turn except for worm monsters, which is the only downside of this card's ability. We then play 2 copies of Adahara. Adahara is great as a 2 of in the build because this card helps you recover your banished worm monsters with the ability that if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand to your graveyard and then target one of your banished worm monsters except this card and add it back to your hand, which is a great ability to recover the exact card that you need off this card's effect. We then play a single copy of Vashuda. Vashuda is great in this build, but I've actually bumped this card down to 1 in this deck, but it's really good to help you bounce cards off the field. We then play a single copy of Shathana. Shathana is really powerful in the deck as a 1-of because this card has a great ability that if a face-up non-effect monster you control is destroyed by battle or by card effect, you manage this card from your hand to your graveyard and then target one of those destroyed monsters and special summon him and destroy a monster that your opponent controls, which is a great effect. We then play a single copy of Mapura. Mapura is a really interesting one of in the build and has a pretty cool effect that basically, when your opponent activates a card effect that targets a face-up non-effect monster that you control, quick effect, you can banish this card from your hand or your graveyard to negate the activation if you do destroy that card. But what's really cool about all your different Tenyi spirits is they all share the ability, if you control no effect monsters, you can special summon them from your hand, which is so cool about your Tenyi spirits. We then made a single copy of Arch Nemesis Protos. Protos is really good as a one-of in the build because this card is such a powerful floodgate to be able to use that has the effect that it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing 3 monsters with different attributes from your graveyard or face up from the field, which is very easy to do with all your different Tenyi monsters. Also, cannot be destroyed by card effects, and you can declare 1 monster attribute on the field and actually destroy all monsters on the field with that attribute. And also, until the end of the next turn, neither player can special summon monsters with that attribute, which is actually insane because we play just about every single attribute in this deck to help you lock down your opponent, which is so cool. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3-out in the build to basically just stop your opponent from touching the deck. We then play 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is great in this build to help you stop your opponent's monster effects, and also this card is really good in the deck to basically just use this card as a level 1 tuner, just in case you need to. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really good as a one-of in the build to basically just use this card to stop your opponent's hand traps where you're going in for all of your plays. And then a single copy of Sacred Summit. Sacred Summit is a searchable monster reborn, which is so cool to help you bring out the exact worm monster you want from your graveyard. With my single copy of Tenyi Infinity. This card is an awesome field spell to work with your copy of Mula Adahara, which is a really cool synchro monster in our X deck. And this card has the ability, when this card is activated, you can actually add a Vessel of the Dragon Circle or a Heavenly Dragon Circle from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability because we only play in this particular build Heavenly Dragon Circle, but it's really good in this deck to help you search out that card from your deck to your hand. You can also tribute a worm monster and then target 1 monster on the field and destroy it, which is a pretty cool ability to help you pop cards on the field. And also, once per turn, during your end phase, you can actually send this card to the graveyard. And if you do, you get to place a copy of Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi from your deck or graveyard face up on the field zone, which is a pretty interesting ability and something to consider about this deck. We then play 2 copies of Heavenly Dragon Circle. Heavenly Dragon Circle is such a powerful 2-of in the deck because this card helps you tag out your monsters, letting you actually tribute a worm monster and then add a worm monster from your deck to your hand, or if you tributed a non-effect monster to activate this card, you can actually special summon it instead, but negate its effects, which is a really cool ability to help you bring out the exact card you need to your side of the field and help you basically dodge different cards that are actually targeting you, like Veiler or your opponent's copies of Imperm, which is really interesting. Also, during your main phase, if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card in the graveyard to add a Tenyi card from your deck to your hand, and you can only use 1 effect this card per turn and only once that turn. We then play 3 copies of Swordsoul Emergence. Swordsoul Emergence is definitely a 3-of in the build because this card is basically the Rhoda of the deck. I think you can add a Swordsoul monster from your deck to your hand, or if you control a synchro monster, you can add a worm monster instead, which is great to add your copy of Protos off this card once you synchro summon. So, that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Swordsoul Blackout. Blackout's really good as a 1-of in the build because this card helps you pop cards on the field, basically being an Icarus attack for the deck. And then you target a worm monster you control and 2 cards your opponent controls and destroy them, which is so cool to be able to do. Also, if this card is banished, you can actually special summon a Swordsoul token to your side of the field, which is a great ability to instantly bring out a Swordsoul token just in case you need it. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is definitely a 3-of in the build just to stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. So, that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with a single copy of Swordsoul Grandmaster. This card is really good as a 2-of in the build, because this card is actually a walking monster negate, that if this card is synchro summoned, you can actually add to your hand or banish a Swordsoul card from your deck. And quick effect, you can actually banish a Swordsoul card or a Worm monster from your hand to the graveyard, target one other effect monster on the field, and negate its effects until the end of the turn. This card is usually the card you want to synchro summon into first, using your copy emoji so you can get a draw and a search, which is actually insane, while also establishing a walking monster negate. And then a single copy of the Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign. This card gets absolutely massive on your side of the field and drops your opponent's attack points down. Because for each banished card, this card gains 100 attack and defense, and monsters your opponent control lose 100 attack and defense. And if this card would be destroyed by card effect, you can actually banish a card in the grave instead. And if a card is banished, you can actually banish a card from each of your opponent's field and graveyard, which is great to help you spot remove cards off the field. And then a single copy of the Sinister Sovereign. Sinister Sovereign is great in this deck as a 1-of because it does so much burn damage to your opponent, as if you synchro summon another worm monster, when this monster is on the field, you can actually draw a card, and if your opponent special summons a monster, you can actually banish one of those monsters, and if you do, inflict 1200 points of damage to your opponent, and when your opponent activates a spell or trap card, quick effect, you can actually banish that card, and if you do, inflict 1200 points of damage to your opponent, which is an insane ability to be able to use this card, just to do basically 3600 points of damage with your copy of Longyun plus this card, because you can activate all of its effects once per turn. We then play a single copy of Ice Jade Gramagrini. This card is really good as a 1-of in the deck, and just a really good option in the deck to help you go in for another level 10 synchro. And play a single copy of Chowfang. Chowfang is a really good option in the deck, and I really like this card as a 1-of in the build, just to help you lock down your opponent, just in case you need to. We play a single copy of Mula Adahara. Mula Adahara is such a powerful card because this card helps us get to a copy of Tenyi Affinity. As if this card is synchro summon, you can actually activate the effect that you can actually grab from your deck to your hand your copy of your field spell, which is an insane ability. As if this card is synchro summon and 2 or more worm monsters are in your graveyard and or banished, you can actually add a field spell from your deck to your hand, which we're always grabbing our copy of Tenyi Infinity from our deck to your hand off this card's effect, which is so cool to instantly get to that card. This card also gets some pretty interesting bonus effects when a non-effect monster is face up on the field. It actually gets the ability it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, and this card can make a second attack during each battle phase, which is a really cool effect. We play a single copy of Draco Berserker. Draco Berserker helps us OTK our opponent. It's just a really cool card in the deck that we can actually play our copy of Mula Adahara and Draco Berserker in this build. But this card is great because when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can actually banish it. And if this attacking card destroys an effect monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, it actually gains attack equal to destroyed monster's original attack, and it can attack again another monster in a row, which is a great ability to be able to use. We then play a single copy of Dragite. Dragite is great in this build to basically just use this card as a spell trap negate. We then play 2 copies of Baxia. Baxia is really good as a 2-of in the build because this card is a bounce, and when this card is synchro summon, you can target cards on the field up to the number of different original attributes of worm monsters used for this card's synchro summon and shuffle them into the deck, usually which is going to be 2. Also, this card has the ability once per turn you can target one card that you control and a level 4 lower monster in the graveyard, destroy that card on the field, and if you do, special summon that other monster in the graveyard, which is a pretty interesting ability. We play a single copy of the Link 4 Tenyi Spirit. And the reason we play this card in the build is because you can actually easily summon this card off of one of your Tenyi Spirit monsters, which is so cool to be able to use, and it's really cool to summon this card off of your new Tenyi Spirit monster's effect. This card is insane to be able to use, and it does take 4,000 points of damage when you do summon it off your new Tenyi Spirit. But this card has the ability, while you control a face-up non-effect monster, monsters your opponent controls cannot target effect monsters for attacks. Also, your opponent cannot target effect monsters on the field with card effects. And quick effect, you can actually target one effect monster that your opponent controls and special summon a Tenyi token that's a Worm Light level 4 question mark attack and 0 defense. And this token's attack comes to target a monster's original attack, which is great, and it's actually insane to make tokens on your side of the field using this card's effect. We then play a single copy of Shaman of the Tenyi. Shaman is great because you can discard a card and then target a worm monster in the graveyard and special summon. Also, for the rest of the turn, you cannot activate the effects of monsters special summon the extract except for Tenyi monsters, which is a little bit of a downside with this card, but it's still insane to be able to bring out. We then play 2 copies of Monk. I have bumped Monk down to 2 in this build, as this card just helps out a lot in the deck, because it is a non-effect monster and helps you get your different monsters into the graveyard. And it's a really cool combo piece, but I have put in the Link 4 Tenyi monster in the deck, as you can summon it off the new Tenyi Spirit monster, which is so cool. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Swordsoul deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try, because it's an extremely powerful build, and it's so fun to be able to make an insane board, summoning out all sorts of different worm monsters to your side of the field to help you go in for game and control the board. So that's gonna be this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next to come for our notification squad. I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.